Welcome everyone to EUphoria Season 3, Episode 2, aka will the real EU super team please stand up? I'm Dracos, this is Frostcroner. Our special guest today is none other than G2 Wunder, one of the members of those rumored super teams, G2 and Misfits. We're available on SoundCloud, YouTube, and iTunes. And if you are on YouTube and you're wondering how to navigate it, click Show More. There are timestamps in the description right there for you. Before we do like anything crazy, there's some topics today. We obviously want to talk about G2. Week 1 of LEC just happened. It was interesting. It was there were some difficulties along the way for some teams. Other teams did very well. So I'm curious, Wonder, how did Week 1 feel from your perspective?
I mean, Week 1 was kind of pretty good for us, I would feel like. I mean, our scrims up until then were like pretty decent, so I felt like we had a pretty easy 2-0.
Can you reveal, and you don't have to, obviously, how many times did you scrim that seek and destroy comp?
I mean, we actually didn't scrim it that much. Because
no one knew it was coming?
We played it a couple of games. Of course, like we have to make sure that it's actually good, you know? We have to make sure it can actually win. But we also felt like when we played it, it was like kind of easy. So we wanted to practice like some more traditional AD carries, which we also played in Week 1, of course, and like just some other comps that we felt like would be good to practice.
Yeah, you did. You got one Perkz mage game, you got one Perkz AD carry game. And for reference, the Seek and Destroy comp, I don't feel like that's been coined quite yet. So this is a reference to the Karthus, Jace, Zoe. You were playing Urgot that game, I believe, and there was a Rakan. But I feel like the Urgot and Rakan less the center of attention.
I was not destroying that much, yeah. It was mostly the Rakan did a lot, I feel like.
The Rakan definitely did a lot.
The Jace and Zoe did get some damage.
The Jace, Zoe, Karthus feels like the core trio of this, what do you call it, search and destroy comp?
No, it's the seek and destroy, because we kept asking. We asked Perkz, and we're like, what would you call that comp?
And he said, none of the names I have for it are broadcast appropriate. We go, well, that's probably fair.
But eventually management gave us the correct name.
Seek and destroy. Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously a really strong start for G2. Some teams did not quite hit the ground running. Fnatic with the 0-2 start, I think a lot of people were disappointed. Overall, I'd say hype week, though, because a lot of teams that were not expected to do well, one of them being Misfits for Frosco, they showed up, which was cool.
I'm sorry, Misfits, forever doubting you. I was wrong. Fevi was fine. That said, a huge shout out to Hansama and Maxlor.
Huge shout out to Gorilla, man.
Gorilla was amazing, but I just feel like Maxlor I was like, it's all going to be about mid-jungle priority. You're going to have a really proactive mid laner that's moving around. And Maxlor was like, nah, run it bot.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of their games were like over from bot lane. And over like in 10 minutes. And they probably some would say they had like a more dominant first week than we did. Even though like they're...
I don't know if anyone... Just for the record, I don't know if anyone would say that.
I mean, I saw some comments that were like, okay, is it Misfits? Is it G2? Maybe Misfits is like better than G2 right now. We never know. I mean, it's first week, right? So a lot of people have assumptions about like how the rest of the split is gonna go. I think Misfits bot lane got like a lot of good drafts, or they got a lot of good bot side drafts, which they could capitalize on in Snowball. So it was not that much that they really like stomped them in terms of like team play or anything. They just like straight stomped them out of lanes, which, I mean, we kind of did as well in our games, but more so like Misfits bot lane were took part in a lot of their wins, or like a lot of their leads early game.
What do you think's more important to prioritize? Because the drafts are very different between a lot of teams. You have teams like Fnatic and Misfits who are putting a higher priority on securing like a stronger 2v2 in the bot side, whereas you guys, it's all about the flex picks. It's all about securing the 1v1 individual matchups and how you swap everything and having like those creative compositions. So do you inherently think there's one strategy or one meta that's defining LEC, or is it just so team dependent right now?
I think the meta right now is kind of like Worlds. I mean, there's like some different champs as well, but a lot of it is flex picks. And I think like one of our strengths compared to like probably any other team in the league is that we are so creative when it comes to like all our picks and like just everything that happens in game as well, like where we would camp and where we would get picks, which other teams necessarily wouldn't look for. And I think that has only gotten better with the addition of Caps and Miki, where they are like also very creative players. And I mean, Caps before played stuff like Wukong and Vayne mid, and Miki had like some Gragas and all these other support champs. So we all have very deep champion pools, and we're all very creative. So I think that's like better than doing whatever Misfits is doing. I think our style is like a bit better because we have so many different avenues to go down.
So
Wrap it up. We have now discussed who is the best EU super team, and according to Wunder, it's G2 because their creativity.
I would always vote myself as our team as the best. So maybe some people see it differently, but I would for sure say we are better. Yeah.
I mean, it looks good. I'm curious when you talk about creativity and Perkz, though. Do you count yourself among kind of Caps and Mickey as those innovators? Because I remember your time on Splice where you're playing like Talia top and just some random picks. And admittedly, it's toned down, I feel like, in recent years. But I still feel like there is that. We've seen that spark from you before. Are you another guy who is an innovator on this team who might bring out something a little bit crazy?
Well, compared to other top laners, I feel like I definitely have an edge when it comes to champion pool and being able to like flex and play a lot of different champs. I feel like one of my strengths in particular is the way that I can pick up new champions and be really good at it from like the first couple of games. I don't need like as many games to practice or something like that. I guess like an example is Aatrox when it got reworked. I could like play it instantly pretty much and still like be pretty good and like.
I do want to say that some of that is you being good at picking up champions, and some of that is Aatrox being like pants on head broken.
I agree. Well, I mean, still like I played like a lot of champions when they got either reworked or like new champs were introduced. So I think I'm pretty good at like, I guess, having a lot of champs to play.
Do you think there's a point in which your champion pool gets diluted? You know, that some professional players can only come in and you know that, professional players should theoretically be able to play anything as soon as it comes into meta because your guys' level is so high. But at some point, do you only practice like 5 or 6 champions, and then once you get to the 7th one, it's not as good because it's hard to balance that many champions on that high of a level?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the meta mostly. I think sometimes it's really good. Like, for example, right now, I think it's good to have like a deeper champ pool since so many lanes share like the same champions as well. So maybe one game, Aatrox, Urgot, and Akali is banned, which is like a lot of games, and Aurelia is picked, but it's not necessarily going into your lane, it's going into mid, or it's going maybe for some teams into bot or something. And then you will have to like pick something else, and then maybe they pick a champ where you have to counter it, and then there you go like really far down the list, like maybe like even the 10th champ that you practice, you will have to play. So I feel like, I mean, it depends on meta, There will be metas where you just blind pick a tank champ and then you pretty much only have to play 4 or 5 champs and you're fine. So yeah, I think right now I'm pretty happy with where the meta is. Like 10 champs, maybe even more than that I'm able to play. It's
ready for
nice.
that Cassiopeia top.
It's possible, yeah.
Cassio, Vayne. Like, let's get you back on carries, man. Let's like
Vayne top.
Vayne top, yeah. Bust it out. I feel like Nuke play Vayne mid. We've seen a Vayne bot lane.
I did play a lot of Vayne top in Toluk, yeah.
I hear it's good into Urgot.
Maybe.
Ooh, that's what I like to hear. All right, before we continue any further, every week now on EUphoria, we want to take a second. Obviously, we don't want to look too far back. There's a lot of times across LEC content where you get the chance to look back at the previous week. But one thing we do want to give out are some, let's say, weekly awards for some special plays and special moments in the LEC. And first up is the most awkward play of the week. This one goes to Schalke, and specifically Abadage and Upset, who teleported bot lane one at a time, slowly but surely realizing that they can no longer cancel teleport. So you were stuck under towers Akali, but the rest of your team was just killing them one at a time as they ran in like lemmings. That was the best reminder ever that teleport could not be canceled. That was brutal to watch.
I'll say this, though, for Schalke. I just think that their inbuilt synergy from day one is so high. Like, you don't expect a team that hasn't really played together to be that on the ball of, like, the trust fall. You're TPing, I trust you, we're going in.
In this case, they were wrong.
Yeah, but...
I like that change, actually. I like the TP change because, I mean...
Because you got more kills because they teleported one after.
Yeah, I mean, also in the same game, actually, I think Oranda TP bot or something, and we were like, normally he would just cancel, like he TP'd, and his team just died, and then we were like, wait, he TP'd, kill him, like that was literally our comms, like we see one target, we kill him, we call the next one, then we see a TP, and we know he can't cancel, and it's just another free kill.
Just waiting there like wolves. You're like, yes, please.
But of course, like as a top laner who uses TP every game, it's a nerf. But I still like the change. I think it's pretty nice, like for competitive play as well.
It's just really funny. I'm gonna be honest. It's just really funny because good TPs are really good and bad TPs are just hilariously bad now. Like.
it feels like it can't just be used as a band-aid because you have to follow through on the TP. You can no longer just use it as like a zoning tool to be like, I'm just going to press
bot
the
lane,
TP.
stop all inning. This is I'm using my TP. Don't you keep fighting.
Children, separate, please.
Aside from the most awkward play of the week, there's the BM moment of the week, and this one was hard. There's two. So my personal favorite was Origin picking Vayne mid into Fnatic and then smashing them with it. I feel like taking a team's special cheese pick that's like unique to them that no one else has really played and then bashing them in with it is just is a particular hype moment. Felt really special for Nukeduck, just sitting there smacking through Nemesis. Pretty brutal start for Fnatic too. But the second one is G2 shouting Fnatic when they won their first game.
Sir?
High quality BM.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It was mainly, it was not mainly my idea, but we were like standing there in the huddle, and then
Come on, sell someone out. Who was it?
Okay,
Who was
okay.
the voice?
And Carlos was there too, also our owner.
Yep.
And we were like, okay, so what do we do? I said like maybe Fnatic on 3, and then he was like really hyped on the idea, you know, like Ocelot. And we were, I mean, we didn't really have to convince anyone because
It was funny.
that's just what we do. So yeah, we did shout Fnatic. Yeah. I mean, it's fair, you know, like they went 0-3, they have to like get some compensation.
Yeah,
I
was going to say, you're the only
team.
team to shout Fnatic after a win on stage this week, so good for you.
Yeah, it was the only Fnatic the crowd heard. Yeah.
Okay, they're already dead. Well, they're not dead yet. They're 0-2.
I think the Vayne pick though into
Galio.
Fnatic, yeah, I mean, it is Caps' pick. It's not really like Fnatic's pick.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
I mean, he was on Fnatic when he pulled it out, and Nukeduck, even though, I mean, it didn't look like he practiced like a lot of Vayne. It's a really good matchup, so he managed to get really far ahead in the lane and then take over the game. So that was good for him.
You know, Reddit's just going to clip that comment that said it didn't look like he practiced a lot of Vayne, and they're just going to be like, see, Vayne is broken.
I mean, to be fair, like in team fights, I felt like he could have auto-tagged a bit more. Of course, like it's not as fresh of a memory in my head right now how the game went, but it felt like he didn't play like perfect, but he's also a mid player, and that's fine. I don't know.
Yeah. Shout out to everyone on Reddit who's like, oh, this is why Vayne is broken. This right here. Or the Attila game where 2 tanks leap into a Vayne. And they're like, see, this is right here.
He played worse, okay? So he's an AD carry player,
Yeah.
and he played way worse than Nukeduck.
But okay, can I just get your opinion? So you remember the triple kill highlight play? Was that a highlight from Attila, or was that literally...
Are you talking about when Xerxes
Yes,
picked them
when,
up?
when Splice literally threw 2 tanks at a Vayne and all their damage dealers were nowhere nearby.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember how he got the first kill, but of course, like Zac ulted him into Sivir, and then he killed both as well. I'm not quite sure, actually. It was not a highlight. It was more like Vayne was pretty strong at that point, and he was playing into double tank, I believe.
Yeah.
Or he was playing into Zac at least, which is like, if you're playing Vayne and they have a tank jungler, then you're most likely going to have a good time later in the game. So I wouldn't call it a highlight, but he just showed that Vayne on like, I believe he had like 3 items. It's pretty OP, yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. That's the week 1 under the books. But before we go any further and looking at the current season, Wunder, this is the first time we've had you on the show. And in kind of tradition on the show, we wanted to take a second to look back at some of your history. Now, you've played across a lot of different lineups, mostly G2 and Splice, but also before Splice was Splice, it was Follow Esports. And before that, it was Dig EU. So you've had a lot of time in the League of Legends scene. So I'm curious, what got you started on League? Like, what was your like first step into League of Legends?
Well, I mean, my cousin introduced me. So that was like my first step. I was at that place for like maybe like a birthday, something family.
Yeah.
So you just like left and played video games?
No, I mean,
Like every family gathering?
I mean, yeah, you of course, like normally you eat first, and then my cousin will go. I mean, we were not that old at the point. Like it was pre-season 1, so it was like I don't know if it was beta at that time, but at least rank was not out, and we went to his PC, and he showed me the game, and then I just started playing. So I played mostly with him, and it was also through him that I got to learn Senkooks, and pretty much like that's where we started playing like all 3 and like some more as well. That was, and then I mean I was like not that good for a long time, and mainly in season 3 I started getting like high diamond, like diamond 199 LP, where you there was like 50 spots in Challenger, and you had to like sit there and get
Yeah,
plus zero like
plus
20
zero
times.
for like 30 games in a row. That was a good time.
So that was basically, I was a jungler at that time as well, and that was like basically how I started playing professionally.
Did you ever one trick a champion in your early days? Like, what was the one trick? Did you one trick to get to diamond or anything, or did you always play a lot of different stuff?
I played a lot of different stuff, but when I got, I was a jungler in season 3, and when I transitioned into more like solo lane, I was not really one tricking, but I played like mainly Aurelia and LeBlanc and Akali. That was like my 3 champs, which I had like more than 300 games on.
Just as a reminder, at some point, Aurelia wasn't OP and toxic, as many of you might be thinking. This man actually earned his way up, and Akali wasn't broken either.
That was old Akali too, yeah. Yeah, right now that would probably
right now people would be like, you
wow.
don't even deserve that. Like, take that away from him. Strip this man of his challenger border.
Yeah. I mean, I was playing the Blanc, I remember, with the old Morello as well, like the really OP one where you bought, like, some people even bought 2 of them. They gave like 20% CDR and like, a lot of AP. So I was building like Morello and Trinity Force and Static Shift on the Blanc, and I was playing like both mid and top, and I was just like, I was like kind of trolling every game.
No, take it away from him.
No, it's good. I like that. That's more exciting for me. And the Trinity Force Static Shift LeBlanc.
So actually, like at that time, I played mid and top lane because I played like Aurelia mid and top. I played LeBlanc mid and top and Akali as well. So I was not really like stuck on a role, I guess. But then I decided, since I guess every top laner was kind of bad in season 4, I felt like at least, that I would want to main top lane.
Nice.
Are you a grinder, do you think? Do you think that you just like run headfirst into solo queue and then just have to put out like 50 games? Or do you think things just come very naturally and it's more so that you get a lot of your growth from scrims?
I think for sure I get mostly like all my growth from scrims. Probably like previously in my career, I would grind a lot more solo queue than I do now, at least. Especially when I was not a team, of course, because that was kind of the only thing I had. But right now, I feel like I don't really need to, or like it's not that necessary. And I feel like solo queue as well is like, it's mainly matchups and like lane phase. And then after that, especially as a top laner, because most of your team just wants to fight 24/7. So it's not really like you don't really learn, okay, do I win side lane against this or this? You just like group up and you just head first in 5v5 and then you win the game, right? Or lose the game. So I don't really feel like I need it that much. But obviously, if I don't play a solo queue game before scrims, I'm gonna like feel a bit more rusty, or I'm gonna feel like a bit more delayed than what I would usually do.
What was the breaking point for you when you first thought like, I'm good enough to be a pro player? Like, this is something that I actually want to pursue. Was there like a single moment? Was like, did you reach like a certain LP and you're like, I can do it?
Is it when you finally picked up Maokai?
Yeah, I mean,
pushed R for the first time and you looked at that damage reduction back in the day and you're like, ooh, this is my life.
I mean, I was pretty, like, when I got Challenger and stuff, I was pretty young. So I was like 14, 15. And then I played with Senkooks and later on Kobe as well. And this bit, like, the guys I actually qualified to LCS with. And I guess around that time, I felt like, I mean, I was like kind of semi-pro because I played Challenger Series, right? But I felt like I could go pro, at least because I wasn't old enough to play LCS yet. But I was still like kind of at that level. And I felt like if I just kept my growth up, I could probably join LCS when I was 17. And then I actually qualified when I was 16, turning 17. So I did, yeah.
I mean, you guys were effectively like a Danish super team when you had Senkooks, Kobe, and you. And the idea was that when you guys were initially going to qualify, we couldn't play the game, and then it turned out that even if you guys had won, that because you guys were still so young, you wouldn't be able to go into the LCS anyway, and so you had to try to qualify twice, I believe.
Yeah, the first, I think it was Spring Split. We got 4th place, which, I mean, isn't that good, but it was still enough to get us like just into playoffs. But because me and Senkooks at that time was underage, we actually couldn't. We could play like the initial like 6 games in Challenger Series, but we couldn't play playoffs because if we play playoffs, that would mean we could qualify to LCS potentially, right? And since we were underage, we had to like get subs in, and since we didn't have any subs before I think the lock-in for rosters was submitted, we had to just forfeit our game, or like forfeit our spot to the 5th place. So yeah, I mean, even though that like kind of sucked. We weren't that good in spring, and it was only in summer when I think we got obvious instead of broken shot, and we got Nisbet instead of Voidal, I think we had, and Cobbe instead of Crazy Caps. I think we actually like changed a lot of the team that we started performing really well. So
I actually forgot you played with Crazy Caps. That's so wild. It's so actually crazy because so many people in esports you see after they come to 4-player Crazy Caps, you know.
Oh yeah, even before that I played Danish tournaments, and that was like season 3, season 4. Like I jungled against Cold. I played against Jesses, you know. I played against Sven when he was not in Origin yet. I played against so many players that you would know now. But yeah, I mean back then it was like the Danish team was actually pretty strong.
The
back
Danish
then.
team was super strong.
But right now it's like I'm not quite sure what's going on in the Danish scene.
I'm looking forward. Team Liquid's going to build an office in Denmark just to scout new players, just to like hand out pamphlets like come to NA, please, sir, come to NA.
But the thing is that when you think about like Danish prodigies or Danish superstars, I feel like your name doesn't come up enough. And we were talking about this a bit before, this idea of when people looked at that initial team, a lot of people
What became the Splice lineup?
Yeah, what became the Splice lineup? A lot of people were getting behind the likes of like Sinkux and Cobbe. And while they've both had career highs and Cobbe like a very established player, I don't think anyone would have put their money on you to be like the guy who skyrockets to the top and becomes like a true, like you are a part of what makes G2 the super team now, especially after your, breakout Worlds performance or your most recent international performance. Do you think what do you think separated your career trajectory from like Cobbe's and Senkux's?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to like the initial like hype for our team, it was mostly coming from the Challenger Series games we played, and admittedly like we played what like Senkux and Cobbe and like just everyone in general played really well, and it's like understandable that mid AD like it's the carries and it's the ones that actually like really like it's the two people that actually like really carried a lot of our wins in the Challenger Series, and I didn't play I was fine. I could play the game, I could hold my own, but I didn't like back then. I didn't really look at any other games in the past, but I probably didn't play that well. And then the first split I had as well, I didn't play that well either. I mean, I was kind of deemed the worst top laner in the split, like in 2016 spring. But I feel like I picked up on a lot of stuff, and I feel like I was never like bad mechanically or like bad as an individual player, but it was mostly just like the general knowledge of our team back then was like so weak compared to all the other LCS teams that we kind of like fell short when it came to picking up CS on side lanes or like making sure that we could set up good situations for top laners to TPN and stuff like that. So I was like left alone to just die on the side lane and like left alone to just, I mean, basically I just had to suck it up every game, right? Because there was like no way I was going to do anything against the kind of caliber of play that the LCS had to offer in the first split, where like AD carry, mid, even jungle to some extent had like a bit more impact individually or like could make more things happen on their own. But I mean, since we like got more experience and like we started picking up a lot of things from the LCS teams, I could like shine a bit more as well. And that, I mean, came the next split in summer.
How often do you think a player has to carry the burden of like a team problem? So you say that, you were left to be the sheep picked off from the pack, and then, the audience looks at that, the casters look at that, and they're like, oh, Wunder, worst top laner in the league, what's he doing? He's dying all the time. Mm-hmm. When in reality, it's probably a massive team miscommunication where they're telling you to go to the side lane to pick up the farm, and you're just following directions, and then unfortunately, you're just the one that ends like 0-12. Like, do you think it's more often than not a team problem versus an individual player problem?
I think like a lot of issues that come from like they stem from team issues as well. It's not like, I mean, if you look from the outside, it's very understandable that you would like look to players and be like, okay, this guy played horrible, and admittedly, like I didn't play well. It was not like my team just told me like it was not like I was.
It's all Senkux's fault.
It was not like I was jailed, or something. But I feel like a lot of it was. A lot of it when it comes to like losing teams in general, and also like our team, we had no veterans or anything. We had like no direction pretty much in the start. So a lot of it is just us trying to make something happen, and when it doesn't go our way, or like when it didn't go our way back then, we would just like fall flat, and we would just like lose the game in 20 minutes, and that was pretty much it. We would just call it a day. And I think because of that, a lot of us didn't really get to shine or show what we could actually do. Only like Senkux had maybe like 2 or 3 games out of 18 where he could show something, you know. Like it was a horrible split for us, but we still managed to stay in, so we could conquer EU, or almost conquer EU in the next split.
Almost conquer EU. Yeah, that was actually such a huge turnaround for you guys. And then the road to Worlds, and despite getting in that group of death, you guys did have a pretty... I mean, you made the most of that group that you did have. There were a few games. Senkux especially was, I think, the guy that a lot of people looked at as like, oh, wow, Senkux is good. You can go toe-to-toe with these people. But for you, I asked you before, like, when did you feel like you were good enough to be a pro? When did you start to feel like you were a top laner, right, in EU? Was there a moment where you're like, I'm actually, like, I can take on anyone? Or... Because there was a period of time where you talk about like being left alone, left to die, not knowing where to need to go. When did you get that confidence that you knew where you needed to be and what you needed to be doing?
Well, I mean, I believe it happened like as early as summer, so the next split. I mean, I was also voted by a lot of like pro players and stuff like that as the actually all pro, I believe, in 2016. I think...
You mean you don't like hang that achievement on your wall and like you're not able to just immediately request it from your resume?
I was gonna pick it up,
down.
you know, I was gonna pick it up like, oh yeah, that was 2016 summer. But no, actually, I think like I always believed that I could, as like an individual player, like stand up to pretty much anyone in EU, even when I joined LCS, even though I didn't play well. But I think since we got like our stuff together when we were in the summer split, I could. Like I had more confidence in myself and more confidence in the team, and then after that, it was like pretty smooth from there. And
I mean, you had to have confidence. You were 1-3-1ing literally every single game.
Yeah,
you were left
true.
on your own to fight.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, the meta was also like pretty fun in that split. I remember like I was playing some Fiora, I was playing some GP and champs like that I have like had a history with, and like I've known to like playing.
See, you had to feed all of those games because now on G2, you guys are able to play the 1-3-1 like flawlessly comparatively to so many teams internationally.
That was the experience value. He spent an entire
you were
season
molded by it.
Yeah, I mean, thank God I don't play tanks, right? Because that would be awful.
As a last question, what do you think is like the most important thing that you've learned, or the biggest growth that you've had kind of as an individual since coming in? Because you started, I mean, you're still super young, right? And you came in, you were trying to come in at like 14, 15, and you've been here now in competitive league and EU LCS / the LEC for a long time. Is there like one thing that you think that was like a big thing that you learned or took away?
Well, for in-game stuff, obviously, since I was just a solo queue player, very young, I didn't really know like all the aspects of team play, and I didn't know like when sometimes I had to give up, and when I had to like just lose gracefully and let my team do the work, and which is something, of course, I've learned now with my 3 years in LCS, or now LEC. Sorry if...
That's all good.
I mean, it was LCS back then, so I hope
now
I'm
it's
excused.
LEC. You had 3 years in LCS, now it's LEC.
And what does the LEC stand for, Dracos?
League of Legends European Championship. It took an entire offseason for me to say that right. I literally said it wrong for you.
I would have got
in a
that
row.
wrong. Like, to be fair, I would have got that wrong if you asked me. But yeah, I mean, I learned like just the team play aspect as a whole, and I guess as a person, I kind of grew up playing this game. So
Yeah.
like when I was 15, I kind of 16, I guess, kind of turned pro. So I've lived my life like in a gaming house pretty much, like since like my teenage life almost in a gaming house. So that has been an experience as well, and I guess I've grown as a person too.
What do you think is the strangest, like I know it was just like a sentimental moment, I like really appreciate it, but do you think there's going to be a moment when you're like 35 and you just do something strange, like, I don't know, eat cereal out of a cup, and you're just like, this was born from my habits of learning?
What's wrong with eating cereal from a cup? I guess it's good. Do you have any weird habits you think as a pro gamer that you're going to like look back on and be like, why, this is such an odd thing that I do, and I like, this is like something unique to growing up in a gaming house, right?
I don't believe I have like weird habits. I'm just like kind of lazy, I suppose. I mean, I like, of course I have to like do chores and like wash my clothes. I guess that's like more than most people at my age
They
probably
make you
at
do
this point.
laundry? Those animals.
My own laundry even. How could they? Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't really have like anything I do like in particular. I guess I'm raised probably. Hopefully. I don't know.
Do you ever look at some of your teammates? You just like these filthy animals.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna. Okay, I guess I can say Perkz.
Name names.
Perkz.
Name names.
I mean, Perkz. Like sometimes you would just see like a random sock somewhere, or like clothes everywhere in the bathroom, you know. And you of course you know like who the person is by now, but it's always Perkz. Like he's I don't know. I don't know how he could ever live on his own, but actually he would hate me. He doesn't watch it. He told me. It's fine. I don't watch Euphoria anyway. So
He's been on twice at least.
well, maybe he watches his own episode. So.
All right, that's fine. That's fantastic. Then we'll hold on aside. Let Perkz know. Maybe this will get him to watch an episode. Ask him if he's picked up his laundry yet today. That's how we'll get him in as a viewer. That's how we'll try.
Oh yeah, and also like he forgets everything. You know, like he puts his stuff everywhere, and then he asks us like 30 minutes later, where is my phone? Or like he says, I've lost my charger, and I've lost like we have like a bracelet for going to the gym. So like I guess like a gym card or gym key, and like he loses that every time, and it's 20 euros every time he loses it, right? So I think he's paid like 3 times by now, and like sometimes he borrowed Janen's when he was in the team, right?
Risky move.
Yeah, he just borrowed his, and then
Yeah. I don't think people are going to loan Perkz their bracelets if he
no,
keeps losing the
it's a really
bracelet.
important thing that you have to be really cautious when you loan Perkz something. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And that transitions us perfectly into the next topic, which is this season and the quote-unquote G2 super team. Frost pointed out earlier, you basically already said G2 is the real super team. The Misfits ain't got nothing on you guys.
Oh, to be fair, and I just say this because of the caliber of competition that G2 faced in their first week versus Misfits. Now, SK looked good, and Misfits spanked SK, but Origin also looked very strong and very compelling, and G2 smashed Origin. So I'm just saying that I think that Origin right now looks a bit better than Fnatic, and so by properties and rules of principle and rock, paper, scissors, clearly it must be G2.
Properties and rules of principle and rock, paper, scissors, folks. That's analysis.
Yeah, I actually believe that like before we went into our games week 1, I actually thought that Origin and Schalke were like the 2 strongest teams right now, and I still somewhat believe that Origin and Schalke might even be like top 3 with us. So
that's a big gap then between everyone else.
I mean, yeah, it might sound like really cocky, you know, because we just like won super hard against both teams, right? So who is there really like to compete with us, if I say that right? But I think, of course, we didn't like scrim against them or practice them because we had to play them in week 1. So there's like a limited sample size, but I feel like their players are really good, and I feel like when we actually practiced against them, that was like before Christmas break. I feel like that was like the team that gave us the most trouble. And just looking at the roster, it seems pretty, or I mean, it could be like a potential top 3 team. So
I'm ready. I want to see how the rest of the top of the table shapes up. But I'm curious from your perspective, we're now seeing kind of the fruits of your labor coming into a first week. We'll see if it continues as well as we move forward. But Caps joining your team, Perkz swapping to 80 carry. We've had a lot of perspectives on it.
I got a question. Does Perkz backseat mid lane with Caps? Like, does he pick a matchup, and do you just hear from the comms?
Did you
in the bottom
interrupt me
lane,
to ask if he backseat mid lanes?
That's not how that matchup works, Caps.
I think it's actually mostly us backseating Perkz. It's like more us, like he
Where's
gets,
your
like,
gym bracelet now?
like he gets really like he's the one that gets like the most, I guess, like comments. Like he's the one that gets the most triggered recently, at least, because like he would pick a champ, and then me and Caps would both say we can play that too, and then like sometimes we would even say we can play that better, and he would like show us a clip, and he would say, I played so flawless here, no mistakes, and then me and Caps would stand there and look, and we'd be like, what was that? That was like a big mistake, right? And then it's like, yeah, I guess, and I don't know, it's not.
So what you're telling me is that G2 are like the Beatles, and Perkz isn't even the best drummer in the Beatles? He's the Ringo Starr?
He's the
Oh, yeah,
Ringo
yeah.
Starr of G2.
I mean, I wouldn't.
God, don't say that.
I mean, he played really well in week 1, right? Like in the LCS games.
There you
Or
go. Good
LEC
recovery.
LEC
Good
games.
recovery.
Just
Do
like,
not call. That is a big condemn. You cannot condemn someone to being the Ringo Starr of anything. Even Ringo Starr doesn't want to be the Ringo Starr.
A, he's still alive.
True.
B, he voices Thomas the tank engine.
That's terrifying. Makes sense why that's scary. Sorry to derail. Continue.
I got other fun facts.
I mean, that's completely fine. Yeah, I mean, okay, I'll admit, like, we have done like some role swapping, and like I play AD carry as well, you know, and Caps play some AD carry as well, but it's not like, of course, like we're not gonna just end it, but
Not gonna int it.
So, in your perspective, the original question that I had before we needed to talk about you stealing my water and being a backseat, potential backseat.
Wunder quickly grabs it. It's like, I gotta drink this before.
Drink before she's a water thief, dude. Unquenchable thirst from Frostgar in here.
You know me, very thirsty.
Oh God. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, what was the process like for getting Caps and Perkz swapping to AD carry, and how much of this did you see, or did you just like go to Leafs for offseason and you came back and they're like, hey, Perkz is an AD carry now and we got Caps? Like, did you know about this process happening? Were you like bought in, or did this kind of just happen?
Well, I knew about it because I feel like because I guess our core was like me, Jankos, and Perkz. That's like the three remaining players, right? So Jankos is the kind of type that is he's like, he trusts us and he's like fine. He doesn't really mind too much. He believes that whatever we will do or whatever we will change in the team will be good and will be like the best possible option. So he was like kind of out, you know. He, of course, like he knew what was happening, but he was not really giving his 2 cents on it or anything. But me and Luca were talking. I guess we were talking a lot about it, and he had voiced his opinion that he wouldn't mind swapping to AD, and I personally I wouldn't mind him swapping to AD either. So it was like kind of, I guess, an easy transition. But obviously, if he had to swap to AD, we either had to get a really good mid laner, or he would have to stay mid lane, and we would have to get a really good AD, you know, if we had to change at least some part of the team.
So there was never a discussion that Caps might swap to AD? It was always going to be Luca?
Yeah.
Is this something that
there's never been a discussion that Caps would want to role swap. I mean, that would be like a pretty... I mean, if he wanted to, of course, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But
what if he like came to you and he was like, I want top lane? Does that make you the new?
Well, then I would play mid lane. Yeah, I think I would rather play mid lane than top lane, honestly. Actually, next week, or I mean, I guess this week we play against Rogue, so maybe I will play mid lane against Senkux.
You're gonna pull out your solo queue jungle.
You could win most BM of the week if you role swap to mid lane to beat your former team. That would win most BM of the week. Just telling you right now, just as an option, just to tell you. We will talk about it next episode.
Well, or maybe like because we also play XL, right? So expect this top lane. Maybe Perkz will be top laner.
Oh, we should make the bet about a solo kill on Sengox.
No, because I don't ever want to like directly influence in game, in the sense that like I don't ever want him to run it down in pursuit of a solo kill on Sengox.
I'll just die on the tower, you know.
Actually, like influence.
So
you know
he
what I mean?
doesn't
Like,
have to grow a mustache.
If we have a bet where he needs to win, that's great. If I do a bet where Wonder's like G2's not going to win, I'm not going to let him make that bet. Like that's just messed up. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to run it down all game. We're going to lose for sure. How much do you want to put down on that? You can't do that. That's not okay. Had Perkz like dropped hints about swapping to AD carry before? Had he like, is it something that he considered, or was it just kind of like, we need to make a change and this is what I think it is?
I mean, he was always second role AD, I suppose. So he played a lot of, I mean, he played Funnel as well. He played like a lot of AD champs. He played Lucian mid. I guess like Cork is kind of an AD carry as well. He played.
Wait, you're telling me Reddit was wrong when they made all of that analysis that Perkz couldn't play AD before preseason?
I mean, to be fair, like he didn't. I mean, all the traditional crit AD carries like Caitlyn, Sivir, and champs like that, he of course had to practice. I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, he can't just play every single champ in the game. But I mean, if someone has to role swap, it will probably be him. I mean, mid laners in general, like they play a lot of champs, just like top lane. I mean, I guess we have like the two biggest, I guess, champ pools, like diversified.
Because you're most affected by the meta at the end of the day, right? And like your champions are so different.
Like in top lane, I probably played like, I think we looked up the stats recently because Perkz thought he played like more champs career total than I did.
Oh yeah, he forgot about the Splice.
Yeah,
dude.
he forgot
about Splice.
I had like 47 or 46 champs, and he has like 36 champs. You know, maybe it will be different now that he role swapped, because I mean now of course he can play more.
Does that feel like cheating though? It's like role swapping to build your champ pool.
But to be fair, like if he plays AD, he's most likely not gonna play 46 different.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's gonna play 7, maybe a couple mages in there too.
Yeah.
So I think one of the big concerns that comes out is that people are like, one of the things that's kind of broken a lot of super teams in the past is like this clash of egos, or at least that's what's theorized. Right now, it seems like everyone on your team is great friends. Everything is going well. People can see it when you guys are like rock, paper, scissoring for blue buffs and you're making Fnatic jokes and you're like joking around and having a good time. Are you worried about the team environment if you guys start to lose?
Not actually at all. I mean, I think all of our entire roster is very, very good at taking losses. Even if we lose, I feel like we will bounce back pretty well. I don't think. I mean, like in my history, I've been on a lot of teams that generally takes losses pretty well. I've actually never been on a team that kind of like feels down maybe like 2 or 3 days after a loss in LEC or whatever. So I don't really know like what it's like to have kind of a team that is like very tilty or anything like that. So I believe this team is the same. I mean, I don't see how, because I've played with Miki before, right? And I know Jankos and Perkz, they are not like that at all either. And Caps doesn't strike me as the person that would take a loss really badly. I mean, at least if he's in a good team environment and like everyone is having a good time. I mean, of course, we want to be serious and we are not taking losses lightly, or like all these Youngbuck memes, you know, like where we're just laughing after the game. But we are not going to be down as well, and we're like always going to keep wanting to improve, you know. That's what I think is at least great about this team, is that like our ambitions and goals are like the same. So pretty much all our goals is out of EU, even though we want to, of course, win EU as well. Like we have like similar ambitions, so we always strive towards like the same goal, even though we lose.
Outside of like raw mechanical talent, which is obviously a big strength of your team, do you think that's like the biggest strength, is that you guys are all on the same page, that you all agree about what you want and what you're shooting for?
I think, I mean, at least it's a very good thing, right? That because, like, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't always been on teams where everyone wanted like the same thing in their careers or in their life. So I feel like right now we are all very similar in that sense. And that's also a thing that I really like about this team, is that when we talk about the game or when we think about the game, we are talking about becoming the best players in our roles, you know. We don't just want to be the best in EU, we want to actually just be the best, you know. So that's a good thing, yeah.
Do you think that your victory over Royal Never Give Up and the fact that, you know, there's a very real way that bracket works out where G2 could have made the same run that Fnatic did, do you think that that's kind of ignited in you guys this idea? Because before it felt like, you know, a Western team's never going to win a world championship, and it just felt so far away, and now it feels so much closer. Did you feel like that at some point, and now it's like obtainable and that's the goal, or have you always just felt like that and it's only just been, you know?
I mean, I think when it comes to Worlds, the 2018 World Championship, I think like a lot of it was, I mean, I would call it luck as well. I mean, we went through play-ins, right? And we got we really like got a good read on the meta, and the meta was really good for us. And like ever since probably like season 4, season 3, the game has, I wouldn't say dumbed down, but like people have gotten like smarter about the game to the point where if it doesn't, like the game doesn't change, then everyone is like gonna be on the same page when it comes to like at least how to play the game on a pretty high level. And then it's mostly lanes, mechanical skill and stuff like that, which was kind of the, I guess, meta in a way at Worlds, where if you were really good in lane, you had good champion pools, good flex picks, and get good matchups for yourself, then it wasn't like that hard to close out the game. It was not like in season 5 or season 6, even when I played Worlds as well, where if you played a Korean team, I remember scrimming Cool Tigers, or maybe they were Rocks Tigers at that point, in season 6, where they were like in group with G2. And even though we were ahead like maybe 3 out of 6 of those scrim games, we would always lose, you know? Like we would always lose after 20 minutes when Nash was up, because they were just like that much better at playing the game. And I don't feel like that's really a thing nowadays. So everything is like a lot more possible, and that's also like a good motivator for us.
It's good to hear too, I think, for as a Western fan, and I think as a lot of people who even if you always felt like this was more attainable or has been more attainable recently, I think the spark has been ignited, especially in the fans, like we can win Worlds. Like the West can win Worlds, specifically in this case, EU can win Worlds. Sorry, NA. Not going to happen, guys. It's just not. We're just better. Frosco, Wunder doesn't see the weakness in this team, it looks like right now. You know, like the team environment is good, the players are good. If G2 is going to fail, how is it going to happen? Like, what would have to happen for G2 to fall apart?
I would say that a failure wouldn't happen until almost the last hurdle, in the sense that right now it looks like you guys are just mechanically, like between champion pools and raw mechanics, and the ability to flex to get better 1v1 matchups or to curate specific matchups, that you guys are just smashing people before the game even really begins from a macro standpoint. And my only concern would be that G2 continue to fly through opponents, and then either in a playoff gauntlet or a finals game or let's say an international stage, you guys finally run into a team that are just as versatile, just as flexible, and just as strong mechanically. And because you haven't had the...
We're all waiting for it. I'm just saying, sorry, I just throw it in there. We're all waiting for it. Griffin versus G2, MSI.
And
calling it
because
now.
you haven't had the macro practice on a competitive stage, that would trip you up at the last hurdle. That would be what I would foresee at this point.
When it comes to like our practice, like some of our practice is very one-sided as well, and we have also like brought it up that maybe we should not like go for 5 solo kills in a row, you know? Maybe we should just kill him once or twice and then go try to do some stuff together as a team, you know, to actually practice more aspects than just
You're like
killing
pulling
people.
the R key off of Jankos' keyboard, just like, come on,
Yeah.
you can't play with this one this time
No,
around.
I mean, also like when it comes to draft, you know, we're also trying to draft champions that would not necessarily smash early game that hard. I mean, of course, like we want to win games in LEC, but like we also played Kartus and we played into like strong champions in lane, and I mean, we still managed to smash them pretty easily, I guess. But we are like not trying to just like snowball through everything, you know. When it comes to like the good teams right now, I felt like actually at Worlds, there were teams not like qualified to Worlds that were better than, I mean, maybe not better than IG, but like better than pretty much every other team. So like Dam1 we scrimmed against at that point, and probably Griffin, because they're pretty good now, they will probably be better as well. So maybe this World Championship, Korea is gonna take over again, and we're together with China, and maybe it will be even harder for us to actually do something. But until it happens, I have faith that we can do good things.
Faith is good. I like that. Now, how much faith do you have is the question, because we need a bet for this week, and we kind of planned one ahead of the show. Now, to confirm, do you want the goal? The bet is around a perfect first half of the split. Wunder, we wanted to also ease it out, so you can choose perfect split, or was it 8-1?
It was because we wanted to get you some flexibility. Because if you guys are trying to, you know, like tie your hands behind your back, take off Jankos' R button, then maybe we give you the 8-1. But you have to predict it correctly.
Yeah, but if I predict 8-1 and I go 9-0, I still lose. So that's like, what is the point, you know?
So you should
He
just predict
started to win that
9-0.
last
So
game
you
and
should just...
I mean,
starts to run
actually,
it down.
it would be easier to win the bet, because there's like, maybe we just lose the game straight out, or we just have to like,
That's why we can't
just have to like run it down, you know?
Yeah,
There's
no,
one
I
game.
know. That's why we can't do that. 9-0, perfect half of the split. Can you do the perfect first half?
We can. I mean, I'm not doing it alone, you know.
Yeah, I know you're not
with
doing it.
my team. Hopefully,
Do you think that your team can do it?
I think we can do it. Yeah. I mean,
9-0?
I believe we have gotten like the harder teams out of the way already. So Origin and Schalke, like maybe if we had like the week we have upcoming week, Excel and Rogue in week 1, I wouldn't be as confident to us going 9-0. But I believe when we've already beaten Origin and Schalke pretty dominantly, I feel like we can go 9-0. Yeah.
And of course, you got Fnatic in week 4, and Misfits is the final opponent.
Oh yeah, we still
round.
have strong teams remaining, you know.
No, I'm just for fans, just for reference. Your last, like pretty much your last 2 bosses are Fnatic, hopefully rebuilt Fnatic, and Misfits.
I mean, at this point, we're basically asking, can you beat Misfits?
Can you beat Misfits in week 5? Is the follow up? Which you were saying yes to because you said 9-0.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Misfits is stronger than Origin or Schalke right now, so I think.
That's what I like to
I mean,
hear.
of course, like a lot of things can happen. So Fnatic could also be good in 4 weeks from now, even though they're 0-3 right now.
But this is the part where you have to disagree, or I have to disagree to make the bet a bet.
Oh, yeah. No way. I mean, have you seen Misfits?
I mean, I feel like we don't have to disagree that we can beat every team, but it's also kind of hard in a BO1 setting, you know, to actually beat any team. I mean,
I'm not saying you're definitively the best. I just said perfect half of the split.
yeah,
That's all I said.
You can just argue that at least one game something will slip up and we will lose, right? That's fine too.
Ooh, let's see if we can predict what would happen in Slip Up.
No. We need to finalize the bet here.
Well, no, that's the final bet. He predicts 9-0 if he loses. What does he do? An apology?
So we decided apology video. The plan is on broadcast. Will be recorded to be run on broadcast. Apologize. Well, are you betting against him? That's the question. Are we betting against him?
Well,
Are
I
you
have
betting?
to, otherwise there's no bet.
Yes,
I mean,
or
then
I
you'll
will
have
do
to
it. I'll
figure
do
out
it if you don't
something
want to do it.
No, I'll do it with you.
We'll do it together.
Yeah. But
Together as a team.
This is why I think it's more fun to predict like what would happen and what would go wrong.
No, but that's extra. That's extra after the core bet. All right, so the core bet.
What would
Perfect
you guys
first half of the
fiddlesticks
split
up?
for G2. If Wunder wins and gets a perfect half of the split, Frosk and I have to stand in front of a camera and apologize to the great, the brilliant, the immaculate G2 Esports, and of course, the best player of all time, Wunder. Very similar to the Kasing interview, I'd say. We have to praise you. We have to make the world know that we were wrong and that we are sorry together. On the other hand, if you don't get a perfect first half of the split, you have to apologize to us. You have to say, we were overconfident. Frosk and Dracos, you're the best analysts I've ever seen. Stuff like that. Stuff that's like really just not true,
I see
but
we're
very
using
nice.
the word analyst very loosely.
I mean, hopefully, if I don't manage to win this bet, hopefully it's like just one game, Hopefully it's 8-1 and not.
The next time we see
imagine
you,
we go
it's
like 4-5. I'm like, yeah. In hindsight, there was like absolutely no way we could have done this. But I mean, hopefully it's like at least gonna be an 8-1. If I manage to.
That's the problem with more long-term bets is that it could just go catastrophically wrong.
Like, I would just stand there and be like a joke, I would just stand there. Yeah, I mean, right now we are at 2-7, so
Yeah.
not quite sure. But
We'll hope for the best for you guys. All right, that's your bet for the week. There are bets from last week that we'll keep you guys updated on that I forgot to do at the start of the show. But
I lost it and Yamato lost it.
so Yamato lost, so we have a bet with Yamato to resolve, and Frosk lost, so she's going to dress up like a judge on Ready Check this week. But as a final segment, as always, we took to Twitter. We asked for something this week. You guys gave us your overreactions. Here are a few of my favorites. We'll start with this one from Powell. I think it's your name, Powell, at Mr. Gromus. G2 will become the new SKT and is going to win 3 worlds in a row. Quote me on that. Daniel Dracos, Frosker, and Law Esports, G2 Esports, #Euphoria.
Which one's faker?
Who's fake? Well, first off, are you going to be the new SKT? And if so,
Clearly, yes.
Season 3 or Season 4 SKT? Or Season 5?
I mean, Season 3 SKT was the better one, no?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Season 4 was Samsung, so
Oh, yeah, of course.
yeah.
Season 3, I think, was like the perfect run, or almost the perfect one.
Yeah.
So you're
I mean-
Season 3.
I mean, I
We'll
would
say,
like
for
to
reference.
be. I would like to win worlds. So
Are you faker then? Are you the faker on this
I mean,
SKT one?
Caps is baby faker, right? So he must be the new faker.
You can change the narrative, man. It's not too late.
I mean, in Season 3, it was not Marin. It was Impact.
Yep.
I don't really want to be Impact, actually.
Is there
So-
a different historical League of Legends team you'd like to be compared to?
Edward Gaming.
No, what? No one likes Edward, but really diehard LPO fans. Everyone else is like, they want MSI that one time, I guess.
Well, I mean, it would have to. So of course, like Samsung, the Samsung teams were good, but
I like it.
they didn't really have like that insane top laners actually.
Looper and Acorn.
I mean, it would
those
be,
are your models.
No, but like it would be if I had to pick teams with like really strong top laners. The Shy. I mean, if I have to talk about like who the best top laners I've played against of these, it would be like the Shy and Season 6 QA.
Ooh.
I feel like those were really good. But
I like
yeah,
that. All right, so you're going to be the new SKT, but with the Shy and or Kuve as the top laner, because it's just the rest of the lineup is tough. Is this the new? Are you going to win 3 worlds in a row? Is this just like the best Western team that has ever existed? Just initial feelings.
I mean,
It's obviously an overreaction, so it's not like anyone expects you to lock this into stone right now. But just like, do you feel like you're there? Are you ready? Are you ready to be the best team in the world?
I feel ready. Yeah. I mean, I think, of course, I didn't play when the 18-0 Fnatic was playing. That was in Season 5. But I think we could be like the new thing. Yeah. I think we could even be better than that. I mean, they went to semifinals and lost. So hopefully we can win 3 worlds in a row. I'm not gonna. Of course, I would want to win 3 worlds in a row, but I would be satisfied just winning one first.
Yeah, we'll start with one. We'll start with one. This was a very over. This Mr. Gromus went above and beyond. He not only said 1 worlds and an LEC and all the necessary things to get to worlds, but 3 in a row. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I think before winning 3 in a row, I would have to start winning 1, and then I can set my goal to like 3 in a row. That would
There
be
you
fine.
go. Next one from once again, I'm going to butcher all your names. It's just the way it is. Jacilius, at Silas Posky, _ Posky. Bear with me. Please correct my pronunciation.
Do you want me to read it?
No.
Are you sure?
Because then I have to accept that someone else could be better at it, and they're not just very hard names to pronounce. Fnatic is doomed without caps and will not make playoffs in spring. Wunder, doomed without caps.
I don't think they're doomed without caps, but they are certainly worse. And I think they're also worse without Soas. Even though I believe in this meta, Bwipo is probably better than Soas. I mean, we saw it was too, Bwipo was playing pretty much all their games. And Soas was basically subbed in for a Sion game, I believe. But still, like, having the flexibility of two top laners, and they probably also taught each other a lot of stuff. And they could also put Bwipo AD carry when Reckless wanted to sub himself out. And
do you think that Fnatic is now much weaker now that Reckless cannot sub himself out?
I mean, for sure, when they will play against us and we will play a mage against him in bot lane, he would want to sub himself out, but then he will realize, I mean, who doesn't really have,
I do think that Fnatic find a lot more success, or at least in the 3 games or 3 versions.
2.5.
2.5.
We call it 2.5 games that they played on stage.
It feels better when Nemesis is put on a champion that's more self-sufficient than something like a Galio, in terms of how a Galio's responsibility is to the team more so than to creating their own leads. Although I think AP Galio is
it's really strong.
Pretty
right now,
bonkers right now.
I mean, from solo queue at least, which is, I mean, kind of the only thing I can judge him on, is he's like an Azir and Kassadin player. For what I've seen, that's like the 2 champs he played the most in solo queue. I mean, Kassadin for sure like is a solo queue champ, right? So he probably got a lot of, I mean, he's pretty high on the ladder as well, so he probably got a lot of free wins playing Kassadin. And before that, he played some Azir. I mean, he plays a lot of champs, right? But that's like the 2 champs I kind of know him for, I guess, when I meet him in solo queue. But Galio is really strong right now, so I mean, Caps plays it as well. Even in LCK, I guess Smep played it top lane, so it's just that strong right now that you can. I mean, you pretty much have to pick it if it's open.
Nothing like mages that can take Aftershock and then build full AP, am I right? It's a good time for everybody.
Yeah.
Last one, we'll do one more from Bozzy at Paul Bozzyda. It's a DAG. As an English speaker, this is very difficult. I apologize. Once again, please teach me on Twitter, at Daniel Dracos. G2, he had 3, but we're going to pick 1. And it's G2 will play less than 50 minutes in week 2. You have Excel and Rogue. Are you going to, awesome games done quick, speed run your way through this week of LEC?
I would say we will play less than 45 minutes.
That was what we should have bet on. That's a good bet, too. Less than 45 minutes this week. I mean, these are the 2 teams that kind of struggled out the gate.
I mean, they could also just, like, pick a lot of champs and just sit on the tower
and
wait
way
clear.
Good champs. They go, oh,
and then
no,
I would
sir.
lose this bet. Not a bet, but I would lose. Like, I would not be able to go home with this. But
I like it. I'm excited for it. G2 playing, as we mentioned, Excel and Rogue this week. They're currently 2-0 at the top of the league. Wunder predicting a perfect first half of the split. This has been episode 2 of season 3 of EUphoria. Thank you so much for listening. We'll keep you guys updated as the weeks continue. Should be coming out Wednesday morning. Why am I saying that in the podcast? I don't know, because I can't just do an outro that's good. It just has to always be a little terrible. Thank you, Wunder, for joining us. And that's going to do it for us here. See ya.